Welcome everyone to Science on Tap. I'm Jen. Thank you for your patience. If this is your first time at Science on Tap, we're a monthly science education and outreach program. We bring curiosity in the community together to have conversations and talk about science and all things that are cool. A big shout out to our partners, Radio Artifact, who are always up for a challenge that we give them. Appreciate them so much. With that, I'm going to bring Sarah, our speaker, up here. We're going to talk about moths and nocturnal insects, my favorite.
I'm so sorry. When I first came back in, I brought in a cicada that I found outside, and I was like, look at this. And she's like, no. So I have a cicada. If you want to see one later, it is one of our native species that you can find right now. And I just talked to Connor, and he's thinking that it's taken over by a fungus. So that is exciting too, because it's just the circle of life. So we're learning all of the things tonight. My name is Sarah Kent. I am a certified interpretive guide. I also am the executive director for Groundwork Ohio River Valley. We focus a lot on climate change issues, and we're neighborhood focused. So we actually pay the people who live in the neighborhoods to help with our different projects. We are going today to talk about the magical world of moths and other nocturnal insects. And we're going to cover why they come out at night, their different adaptations, how you can support moth populations. And then, thank you to Devin, we are going to go outside and hopefully view some moths. If not moths, we'll talk about some other creatures that you might see in a typical mothing night. So this is a little bit interactive. You can choose what you would like to participate in. If you have questions, please just raise your hand. I'll be repeating the questions out loud. And we'll get started. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is why are animals nocturnal in the first place? We've got a cute picture of the Io moth, which is a brilliant yellow moth that you can find native to Ohio. And you can see its big black eyes and its really puffy antenna. Those are so it can sense the world around itself. So I realize I'm out of breath. I'm so sorry. We were walking everywhere. But those are certain adaptations that a lot of nocturnal species will have. A lot of animals are nocturnal to avoid predators. They learned over thousands and thousands of years that they might not get caught if they're out more at night. They are, there's a chance for reduced competition for food and water access. So they might be able to have more water access than like the daytime animals are using up all the water, or maybe their predators are near where there's a water source, but at night maybe they're sleeping and they're able to get the water or food. If you look at deserts specifically for heat avoidance, those animals have adapted to being out more at night because it's so hot and you can lose a lot of moisture in your body if you are out in the sun. Other animals have adapted to being outside, right? But some of them chose that nocturnal route. And sometimes their primary prey that have learned now to be out in the nighttime are more active, or there's a chance that they might find another mate. So all of those reasons support animals being nocturnal. They've actually been able to find their specific niche in their environment over the millennia, learning where to be and at what time. So here we have a couple of insects that you might see. Today we are going to be talking about all of these pictures that I've taken are mine. So we're going to be focused on Ohio species, but this is not the end-all be-all. If you go to Central America, for example, there are going to be thousands of moths that come to your sheet. Today, we might see 100. I'm going to be really hopeful. It depends on different light sources, right? So not just moths are attracted to light. We have a tree cricket, a stink bug, and then a katydid that are all different insects. We are going to, first of all, talk about what an insect is. So if you are into participation, now is your chance. What are some characteristics of an insect? Yeah. 6 legs, yes. So you can count on all of these that there are 6 legs. There's a little tiny one poking out from under the stink bug. If they're missing a leg, it probably got eaten by something. So keep that in mind. All insects do have 6 legs. What else? What else do you notice? Yeah. They all breathe air. Yes. Does anyone know how they are breathing their air? Spiracles, which are, I didn't see who. Yeah, so spiracles are the breathing holes through their abdomen or thorax. If you look at the katydid, you can kind of see those. I'm going to move over here. You can kind of see those dots along the abdomen in a line. That is how they're breathing. If we were to find a katydid today, we could hold on to its wings as I'm doing in that picture, and you would see its entire body moving. So if you take a deep breath right now, your upper torso is going to be moving, right? With a katydid, its abdomen is going to be moving. That's where it's doing the air intake for its blood. What else? We've got 6 legs. We breathe through spiracles, yeah. The antenna, yeah, and what are antennae used for? Feeling, definitely. Feeling is a good one. They are a little bit more sensitive, so they can use that to feel their way around their environment. If you look at these antennae on all 3 of them, compared to their body, their antennae are really big. That sometimes is a characteristic of nocturnal insects, but not always. What else? What else can you use antenna for? We'll still be on there. Yeah, sensing chemicals. So they're the main chemical receptors. For certain insects, I'm going to show you all a really cool moth species. Everybody is always really excited about like Saturniidae moths, which are the largest species of moth, right? That's the Luna moth, that's the Cecropia moth, Polyphemus moth, the largest ones, the most like sought after moth. And a lot of those males have really fluffy antennae, and they can sense the females for over 100 miles away. It depends on the species, but they can smell and then fly to that smell to mate with their females, which is great. What else do you notice about these or other insects that you might have on your brain tonight? Yeah. An exoskeleton, yes. So that's like their skeleton is on the outside of their body. That's their protection. Our skeleton is on the inside of the body. That's the simplest explanation of an exoskeleton that I've ever done in my life. How many body parts? 3, great. So we have the head, thorax, and abdomen. And if you notice, they all have some sort of eyeballs. Most insects have a compound eye, and that's how they can see images and react to those images. And then some of them, and then they also have a simple eye. The simple eye can detect light or dark movement. So if a predator flies over, they might freeze because that might be their reaction to a potential predator moment, and they will want to camouflage their environment as best as they can. So it's important that they have their simple eyes to react, I think, more against predators, but then their compound eyes, I always say that it's like in the movies where you see the view from a fly and the fly is like going towards the food. It looks exactly like that. It's a whole bunch of hexagons towered on top of each other, and all of those are creating an image that's going into their sensory cells to form like one big picture. So imagine just having like 100 eyes in each eye. Great. So this is a tulip tree silk moth. This is one of the Saturniidae species. Like I said, there's 1,300 different species. They are all active at different times. So the tulip tree moth is more commonly found in the like May, June time window as adults. They are one of the first Saturniidae species that you can find in Ohio. They are found in tulip trees, hence the name. And tulip trees can grow to about 60 to 150 feet tall. We don't see these as often because if you can imagine, that is a very tall tree. They're up there in those trees most of their lives. Even as caterpillars, they're eating all of those even younger leaves are going to be higher up in the tree. But we were really lucky to see this one night at Fernald. Other interesting, fun things that you can do on mothing night or a moth night, which we will talk about in a few slides, is take out a blacklight flashlight and see what glows. So I know that these are blurry pictures, I'm so sorry. There's a slug caterpillar that turns into just a really, really tiny moth. On the left, there's a different type of species of caterpillar that's not a slug caterpillar in the middle. I don't remember what species that is. And I also don't remember what species this, I didn't take any without the black light on it, so I could probably look up what glows red under black light. This is a reaction, depending on what species it is, it'll be absorbing that light and emitting whatever is not being blocked from that light. But it's really interesting because you could be standing at the black light and waiting for these moths to come in, and only one will glow. So it's very variable between species. A lot of scientists think that this can be used for communication and either telling like a predator that maybe I'm poisonous. Like the slug caterpillar on the left is one of the most painful stings you can get from a caterpillar ever. Some scientists think that it's a way to communicate between the same species because they can recognize each other and use that as intel on whether or not they'd like to mate. It really just depends on the species, and I'm going to keep saying that through this entire presentation. But it's a really interesting thing. So if you ever are interested in doing this, like in the woods or at your house, this is a really accessible activity for you because you don't necessarily need a blacklight. It does allow you to find other things that are hidden. So you could get like just a blacklight flashlight. That's maybe $15. Or you could set up a whole sheet, but you don't necessarily need a blacklight for the sheet. So looking at these moths, a lot of times they do use, instead of glowing under a blacklight that we have to use specifically, also, let me go back real fast. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that with moths and other insects, they can see other colors and other lights reflected back to them more than humans can. So to us, these might look like just regular green caterpillar, a tan moth, I think it was, and they can actually see more. So like they might look at each other and see those colors as bright. We don't actually know. And it's the same for pollinator plants. So like the plants that they are trying to get nectar from or that might be their host plant, those might also glow, and they might be able to use that information to choose which plant that they want to get food from. If you notice on the first picture as well, there's like the green, like bright green veins, and then the dark red, and that's because chlorophyll will also glow under black light. So that is always, like, all of those features are giving the information to those creatures. So if we're looking at these insects, you can see that the large one on the left has a really bright orange like dot in between the wings. I wasn't able to get a picture of the actual underwing, but this is an underwing moth. They will use this color as a way to surprise potential predators. They also can use this to attract a mate, depending on the species, always. But sometimes there's color that's just hidden within a moth or a butterfly or any of those species. If you look at the zebra moth, it has a really striking coloration, right? It's the black and white stripes. That can be information as well that maybe this insect is not safe to eat. And otherwise, they could have a lot of, otherwise they can blend into their environment and have a lot of camouflage. So you can see with the underwing, it might camouflage well into a tree, or it's just general forest background. It could even be on the ground. You might not notice it unless it's moving. But that flash of color, the second you get too close, might startle you enough that you can't catch that moth to eat. So I know that we're talking about moths today, but I also wanted to talk about light attraction, and these were my best pictures for light attraction. So generally when I do a mothing night, I use a black light, but you can use a white light if you'd like. Both of these are two different types of ichneummonid. Am I saying that right? Okay, thank you. Wasps that are predatory wasps that use this black light as a way to hunt their prey. So they're looking around to try to find an opportunity to grab something. When we talk about moths, the main theory that I have heard that is the most widely accepted theory about why moths are attracted to light is that they, and I wrote this down too so I don't mess it up, they use this as orientation. So their goal is to keep their backs to the light source. They use the main light source that they use for that information is the sun and the moon. But when we have artificial lights that are closer to them, they will try to orient themselves with their backs away from those lights. And then they just get really confused because they're so close, and all of a sudden the light is coming at different angles every time that they orient themselves. So it's kind of sad. They get into this like cycle where they're just spinning around, and that's why I always suggest that if you can turn off your lights or turn off other artificial lights, it would be better for moths and other insects. That's also why you might go outside in the mornings and see a whole bunch of like moths that are plastered to the wall right under a light, or like you might find a lot of dead ones underneath like street lights if they're really bright and haven't been toned down. Depending on how strong the light is, the more insects will be attracted to that space. And unfortunately, a lot of them will just fly until they're exhausted and pass away. There are some opportunistic animals that will definitely eat them. So sometimes you don't see as many dead ones at the bottom of your lights, but it just depends. There's other thoughts that scientists have that like aren't necessarily proven, but still I think worthy to talk about. One is that they mistake the light for the moon, and it's like more of a simple mistake than like actually using their bodies to orient themselves. But it doesn't really explain like why they keep flying, and it's still a popular theory. And another suggests that it might be they're looking for a food source for ultraviolet light. So they might be attracted to it. Maybe they think it's just a giant flower and they're looking all over for food source. So we have a couple other creatures that you can find that are nocturnal. This was probably one of my favorite finds, and I wasn't even like mothing on purpose, which is one of our native stick insect species. If you look at the chain, it's perfectly aligned with the chain. People are always like, why do I not find stick insects outside? And my answer is that they look like a stick, so they blend in, as you can see. They're very slow moving. And sometimes stick insects don't even know how to find a mate. So they've developed a really cool thing called parthenogenesis, where the female can clone herself. She'll lay an egg and it'll already be fertilized and be able to be a clone. Some species of stick insects have perfected a really cool relationship with ants. So when they lay this egg, it's like the perfect shape of a seed. And it doesn't smell like a stick insect. So the ants will actually carry the egg to their colony and babysit it for a while. And because it's been living as an egg in the ant colony, it starts to smell like the ants. And when it hatches, it's about the same size, so it can just crawl out. It smells just like all the other ants. They don't really recognize it as a threat, and they're able to continue on with their lives, which is really awesome. The other insect is what I have in my hand as well. One of our native, I thought it moved for a second, and I was like, Jen's gonna kill me. So this is one of our other like native annual cicadas. The question I always get about cicadas is, what is the difference between annual and periodical? Periodical cicadas are coming out every 13 to 17 years. If you're interested in those, I do a lot of talks on those depending on where they're emerging from, and that's what my past research was as an entomologist. Annual cicadas are coming out every year, just like their name suggests. We have 3 main species that you can find in Cincinnati that are like the most popular, and I think they are bigger than the cicadas that emerge that are periodical cicadas. One of the main differences is that periodical cicadas have these bright reddish-orange eyes. Not always, but most of the time. There's some special blue-eyed cicadas, which I will not go on a rant about right now, but they're very cool. And then our annual cicadas all have like this green winged vein shape for their wings, and they are slightly bigger. The reason also why you might find them like outside at night, because we talked about like them, most of the insects that we talked about are active at night. These specific species are going to be attracted to that UV light. So you hear them most of the time during the day, right? Especially right now, there's a lot of them that are super loud, and they'll stop calling as much as soon as the sun sets. But scientists think that they get confused by the ultraviolet light, so sometimes we get some lucky cicada visitors as well. And sometimes the light attracts predators. So they will see the light, they'll see all the movement of all the things that are attracted to the light, and they will take advantage. So these are 2 different, same eastern tree frogs that were attracted to the lights at my house. That little one camps out every day, just trying to catch everything that goes towards the light. And it was competing with a spider at one point. My next slide, kind of oriented in a weird way, but that's okay. We will just roll with it. So other spiders are also attracted to that light. So I've been doing a mothing program, and you can shine a flashlight at the level of your eyes, and their eyes will reflect light back to you. So if you do it at the beginning of the program, you might find like 2 or 3 around, and they just happen to be like facing you, like orienting themselves towards you. And you're like, okay, there's a couple spiders around me. After like an hour or like longer, if you do the same thing, keep the light at the level of your eye and look around, there are hundreds. And then if you keep the light on longer, they will come closer, eventually getting to the sheet, and they will take advantage of all of those insects that are all over the sheet and have a feast. So if you're doing a spider collection, it's also just a really cool way to collect spiders, I guess. But a lot of ground spiders will just like start crawling towards you, and it's just a fun experience. So we are going to talk about like what you can do to support moths in their ecosystem. And one thing that you can do for that is to plant native. So this is my garden. I'm very proud. It's taken me like 4 years to get it to be like this wild, but I've managed to get like 26 species all in one grouping. You can see the monarch caterpillar on the milkweed. I've counted 40 this year, so I am super excited. This one was just like a rogue milkweed right outside my front door, and I found this one, and there's like a little first instar. It's so cute. So if we're talking about planting native, it can be a variety of different species, right? I've listed some. This is not the end-all be-all. I will be listing some resources in a bit. But for example, oak trees, the first one, will support it supports 530 species of butterflies and moths. That's probably one of our highest support systems of trees. So if you have land or know where trees can go, oak trees are a great choice because think of all the variety you can have just by planting one oak tree. We also have maple, willow, birch. You can plant sunflowers, milkweed, asters, which are like daisies and the daisy family. So a lot of the there's so many different species of asters that we won't go into that actually. Blazing star, black cherry, and grapes. You can choose flowers that like fit in pots if you don't have access to a garden. You can plant at your local community gardens, which are oftentimes free. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to plant like at your house, right? Not everyone has access to land, but you can help plant in your neighborhood. You could create seed bombs, which are just a mixture of soil, clay, and native seeds that you throw out the side of your window. Little bit of planting anarchy. So there's lots of options for you to plant native. So another really cool fact is that if you plant a black cherry tree, there's about over 300 species of moths and butterfly that prefer black cherry as a host plant, including the spring azure, which is a very, very tiny blue butterfly that happens to come out in the spring, because entomologists are really original when they name things. All right, so if you would like some resources One of my favorite humans is Jim Mundy. He lives close to Winton Woods. Feel free to take like a picture of this. There's more. There's more than just what I listed. But Jim Mundy, his goal is for homeowners and not businesses, or he still would like businesses to participate, but his goal is to provide plants at a reasonable price for homeowners. You can connect with him on Facebook. He just had his plant sale last Saturday, but he does take appointments. Each plant is $4. There's some really cool, rare plants that he has. So if you're just getting into native gardening, this is a really cool way for you to start. It's less, it's just a little bit like more approachable because of the price. Sorry. So we also have a Civic Garden Center up there. Their plant sale is this Saturday. I think it's from 9 to 2. Does anybody know? 9 to 3. Yeah. And they'll also, if any of the native plants that they have left over, they will still sell them, or you can contact them. I would just contact them within the week because they donate to a lot of really cool projects around the city. The Cincinnati Zoo has the Boyer Farm, and they produce a lot of native plants and just really fun plant varieties if you're interested. I know Mobo has had some sales. That's right down the street. Keystone Flora focuses on native plants, and there are some native planting groups that are on Facebook that you can just see if people are selling them. I've seen on Marketplace, I've seen like pawpaws being sold, which is really cool because there was a time where I like could not get a pawpaw to grow. But now, if I need them, there are people out there that are selling them. So that's really exciting too. Another way to participate in making sure that you're planting for moths or supporting moths or other nocturnal creatures, such as this green lacewing, which I had to include because a lot of times they do come to the sheet. They are just one of the coolest insects ever. As a larva, they are these little tiny dinosaur-looking things, and as they eat and hunt in the lichen, they will actually grab pieces of lichen, put it on their backs, and then as they're hunting, they'll grab those insects, suck out their juices, and also put those on their backs as a way to camouflage. So they're just like, I don't know, like a badass bug, like walking through with bodies of dead insects on their backs and lichen. They go through a metamorphosis, just like a moth or butterfly would, and turn into these beautiful fairy-like green insects. They're just really cool to watch. And I think they inspired a lot of like fairy tales from them just because of how they fly. So you could also do National Moth Week, which is in July. And it started as a really small event, but has grown to be a worldwide event. They still want to keep the name National Moth Week because they want people to remember like the roots of where it came from, but it is a really cool citizen science project because it's where the entire week people can record as many moths as they find, and it gets put into a database for tracking. You can use iNaturalist on a personal level or as part of National Moth Week. I host moth parties at my house, and we will form an event and then I'll add those pictures onto there. The QR code goes to iNaturalist, and you can, it just takes you to the main page. But iNaturalist is a really awesome tool because it is all citizen science. You can take pictures of plants, animals, anything that can be identified. It has a location set, and people can use that for research once 3 people have identified it and made sure that it is what you say it is. So there's a whole bunch of people on there. There's like experts who only study one species of moth, and then there are people who like are naturalists who I would say their expertise is almost everything, so they're just able to identify as many different things as they can. And yeah, it's just a really awesome tool. So if you're interested in iNaturalist, you don't have to create an account tonight. You could take pictures of insects that you might see tonight and then upload them later. But if you're interested in contributing to a citizen science project, that is a great way to start. We also have public programming around the city. I'll be talking about one of mine coming up soon, but we have, I've been to mothing at Fernald several times. Luke Teese does that class, really fun. And Fernald, if you have not been, is one of the most biodiverse places in Cincinnati. It's such a cool gem, and I feel like every time I'm there, I see a species that I've never seen before. So I highly recommend keeping track of when those are. Maybe not for obvious reasons, you can only moth in the warm months because they are not warm-blooded, they're not as active, they get really sluggish when it gets dark. They're not gonna be moving around as much, right, especially in winter. Tonight is actually, we have like the best weather to go find moths tonight, so I'm very excited because I'm interested to see what will come up because it's close to 70 degrees, so they're gonna be more active. So tonight, this will be our setup. I know traditionally Science on Tap does not do a field trip, but we have a sheet set up outside in the beer garden with a black light, and I thought it would be really cool to just see what has come up. It won't be dark yet, but it will start to get a little bit dark. The cool thing about mothing is that insects, different species of insects are active at different times, right? So starting right now, we might see more of those like gnats and flies that tend to like bite us. We might see some mosquitoes. There is going to be a point in time tonight where we might find like rove beetles, which are these like really tiny like beetles that have really short wings, and it doesn't look like they could fly, but they definitely can. Hundreds of them, just all coming out at once. Mayflies might come out at a different time. So it really just depends on how long you are going to be around to see what comes out. But you're welcome to stay as long as you like. I probably am going to leave when Urban Artifact closes. But if y'all are wanting to stay out like later, I will do that. Because I love this and it's fun. Oh no. Okay. Well, let me see if I can reload this. I'm sorry. If I exit out of this, will I be able to press presenter mode again? Okay, all right. Sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. Nope. All right. I might need your assistance because I might have just gotten rid of the whole presentation. I'm so sorry. Clearly, I'm not used to using Google Computer. Well, while we're waiting, I only have a couple slides left, just some more resources for y'all. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Yeah, okay, sorry, I think I skipped over that completely. Thank you. So the question was, are moths related to butterflies? The answer is yes. So They are both in the family Lepidoptera. That is like the all-inclusive, like if it's a moth or butterfly, they're all connected. The general difference is, and this is not always true, so take everything with a grain of salt. Like I said, it's species dependent. Butterflies, if you look at their antenna, they might be straight out and then have like a knob at the end. So that's how, if it has a knob, it's always going to be a butterfly. If it is fuzzy or feathery, it's going to be a moth. Sometimes you can, I saw it for a second, but then it disappeared. Sometimes people say like if it's active during the day, it's a butterfly, but a lot of times, that's great, thank you. Yeah, great, thank you. Sometimes it can be, butterflies can be active at night. Most commonly they're not, right? But moths, a lot of times they are not as active, but I should have included a picture of the hummingbird moth because those are really awesome and they fly like hummingbirds. Those are always active during the day. It is species dependent, always. Generally, moths are more fuzzy and they look like velvet, and butterflies are more smooth. And generally, butterflies have brighter colors, but that is also not always the case. So, did that answer your question? Okay, great. I am going to get back to maybe. Okay, I'm going to get back to this, and then I'll take questions like right at the end, since I just have a few more. So some other species that you might find, we just talked about like planting native species. There's an emerald moth on the left, and the emerald moth is a really cool, beautiful green moth. So I just like contradicted myself when I was like, they're more colorful. This moth is super colorful. The caterpillar is really awesome. I found some this year. It was a first for me. I was looking at, I don't remember the common name for Lianthus, but it's this large purple stalk flower, and I was like, oh, there's no wind, but some of it is like moving. That's kind of weird. And I get closer, and it's a caterpillar that has stuffed like flower petals onto its back and is just like trying to move with the wind, but there's no wind. And this is what they turn into. So the same, almost, I found this moth first, and then a week later I found more caterpillars of that moth, which was awesome. And then there are katydids. I showed you a picture previously of a katydid, but especially right now, they're one of the loudest insects that you'll encounter outside. So the thing outside your window is probably a katydid at night. Upcoming, we have a full-fledged moth party this Friday at California Woods. It's going to be fancy. There's free appetizers and drinks, and I play music, and it's just a good time. We look for as many moth species as possible. California Woods is also one of probably the most biodiverse places I've been to in Cincinnati. I worked there like 15 years ago, and I've just keep going back and doing programs there. It's really beautiful during the day, but at night, I did my first mothing program there last year, and we got a crazy amount of species and saw so many cool things. So highly recommend. This is our last public mothing event of the year. And then if you are just interested in foraging, I'm doing a foraging weekend with Try Foraging. The weekend of the 19th, it's optional depending on like what time you come out there. Like you don't have to be out there the whole weekend, but if you're interested in foraging, that's in northern Kentucky, you can follow Try Foraging on Instagram, and that can give you all the information you need to register. So that will have, I'm teaching an edible insect class, and it's going to be a walking edible insect class. So we're going to try to find as many different things as possible and just talk about how to eat them. But I will prepare some like dishes for y'all, and then I'm going to do a probably body scrub class as my second class. And there's a giant foraged feet, so I'm very excited for both of those. And then, if you have questions, we can ask them now. And then if you need to contact me, I have to use my work email right now because I can't handle more email addresses. So it's this right now, and I promise I will answer you when I can. Instagram is Keep It Wild Creations. That's how I get most of my events across, especially for the Northside Farmers Market. And after questions, we'll go outside and look to see if there's anything on the sheet. So does anyone have questions? Yes, in the back. Yeah, that's a great question. So it was if the stick insects are cloning themselves, are they the same sex when they're cloned? And yes, they are. So generally, I think I can't remember the island, but there is an island with these giant stick insects where it is just female stick insects because one got washed up onto that island and then just created a whole bunch of clones. And you can go to that island and they'll all be the same genetic makeup, which is crazy. What is it? Lord Howe Island. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question too. So the question was, why would they do that? Is it scarcity? What is the reason behind that? Basically, they have such great camouflage. Sometimes they can't find a mate. So the easiest way to pass on your genes and ensure the survival of your species is to just clone yourself. So that's why they end up having so many. And that instinct is in them even when they're stuck on an island, right? They're still going to be producing more offspring to make sure that they're the whole they're not thinking about this, but the goal is for them to continue the species. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, and it is definitely species dependent. So the question was, do moths have short life cycles like butterflies do? It just depends on the species. It's crazy. Cecropia moths will live for 2 weeks and then die. But when they emerge as adults, they will come out as an adult and their mouth parts will be completely sealed. They're not eating as an adult. Their whole purpose is to find a mate, get those eggs somewhere, and hopefully they survive. So as soon as the mating has happened, and the eggs have been laid, the females will die. And the males will also die they'll mate as much as they can, but they only have so much time. And like I said before, with those species, the males are flying, they can fly for miles. And so their wings are beat up. That makes them easy prey once they start to be flapping all weird and injured. So a lot of things will pick them off by that time too. Most moths are more active and have a longer lifespan as a caterpillar than they do as an adult. That's the general rule, but also species dependent always. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes. There are, and they don't, sorry, I should repeat the question. So the question was, I had talked earlier about wasps, and if they are, if certain ones predate moths specifically, or if they're mostly nocturnal. right? Okay, so it is once again species dependent. There can be moth specializers, but there's not any that I actually know of that come to my mind. Sorry, I keep looking over there because somebody I used to work with is also really a great entomologist, and yes, exactly. So like the answer is like there has to be one out there, right? But depending on the species, most wasps are more active during the day. And there are some that just like will specialize in certain things, but also be attracted to the ultraviolet light as well. I commonly see mud daubers, which is a spider specialist, and I don't know if it's because of the light or because there are spiders on the sheet, because I've seen them do both. I've seen them grab a spider. Their venom is like, it paralyzes the spider and keeps them alive, and that's really important because they'll like collect as many spiders as possible, shove them into a mud tube, lay a singular egg, and then the larva will emerge and eat all the spiders as they're living because it's fresh meat. So there's a whole bunch of different specializers out there, and I think it just depends on the species. But now I'm going to look up what would specialize on moths at night because I'm curious. See if I can go back. Yes. Yeah, so both of these are ichneummonid wasps, and as Connor just stated, I have to, just so people can hear online, they will sting different insects, or not sting, they'll lay an egg in each insect that they come across, and when they emerge, that larva will eat the insect alive. Yes.
You see on spiders all the time. They'll have a little larvae of like a demonic wasp sitting on their body.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nature's so wild. All right, any other questions? We're gonna go outside. Are y'all gonna come out? Okay, great. Well, thank you to Science on Tap and Radio Artifacts for having me and dealing with all of my craziness and want of a life.